Boom! Atlantic time. The last time we were speaking about the Atlantic Division. And when we first drafted these teams, there was I'd say there's an Atlantic avalanche of teams being picked. And there was one team left at the bottom, and we were all laughing, including myself, saying that this team is probably going to be the downfall of this division and the weakest. And we head to New York first because, as Stephen A. Smith said, the Knicks are back. And it's great. It's great for the league. I'm really happy that the Knicks are back. They've been on a massive winning streak. They're 3-1 this week. They would have been undefeated if we were recording on Monday. We were obviously recording on a Wednesday. 34-28 overall. They're sitting fourth in the East. Fourth. Ed, how's that? I think you've never been prouder. It's like a proud moment for your son.
Absolutely love to see it. And actually, I was thinking about the Atlantic Avalanche. And do you guys remember the team picked just before the Knicks? I'll see if you guys can remember because it was. I'm not going to say whose pick it was. Very, very, very last because it looks like he remembers who it was.
Yeah. Was it Raptors?
It was the Nets.
Wow.
Jordan had the option. Yeah, Jordan was the pick before me, and it was the Nets and the Knicks. I'm like, oh gosh, please don't pick the Nets because oh my gosh, just don't pick the Nets. And we went with the Knicks, ended up with the Knicks. But you know what? It's been really fun rooting for the Knicks and watching their games and seeing how much they developed over the year, and really, really cool for them. So, Alex, as you mentioned, last time we spoke, Knicks were bang on 500, 25-25. How things changed in 3 weeks. So their first game after that, they had a 2-point loss to the Nets. And I think that was the Caden Randall like crying, oh, I hate them, which, yeah, love the kid for that. And then the game after that, there was a loss to the Celtics by 2 points as well. So they had two very tough losses, one possession games against really elite teams in the East. Since then, 9-game win streak. The Knickerbockers are back in town. And then you see all the reports coming out that, players are now considering the Knicks, and Knicks have become more favorable. So
that's such bullshit, by the way, isn't it?
A lot before the season, there was a lot. You saw what Zion said?
Get away.
That's not even a thing. But it's not fair though, because the Knicks are doing well.
You saw his eyes just light up, and it's like, oh.
Yeah. Good job, the Knicks. I hope you get some free agents. Great job on the season, but let's not go too crazy.
So, Mr. Washington General over there, don't talk to us about the Knicks. Yeah, we're here in Harlem, New York. That's us. You're the Washington Generals, right? With your dead team. Right? Let's not bring this over here. So, some of those games, they beat the Lakers by 15. They beat the Mavs by 8, and they beat the Hawks in overtime by 10. So they managed to get the game in overtime against the Hawks, then lay on a little bit of a whipping in overtime. Sorry. And Alex, you mentioned that a bit earlier about Julius Randle, and I was could I come up with an argument for Julius Randle for MVP? And I mean, I couldn't seriously come up with one. I was like, I tried to look at the numbers and go deep in, but I was like, no, it wouldn't be me being genuine. One really cool stat that I did find was Julius Randle is third this year on assists to 3-pointers, which is amazing. Can anyone guess who number 1 and 2 is?
Jesus.
Doncic.
Yes. And the next one is...
Trae Young.
No, it's one of Jordan's teams.
Sorry.
DJ.
Lillard.
Really?
Damian Lillard and Luka Doncic are 1 and 2 in assists to 3-point shots, and Julius Randle was third, which I think is really, really impressive and just shows how much impact he has, because a lot of them are 2 open shooters, so the amount of gravity he has on the court is really, really nice. Last thing I'll end on the Knicks in terms of moving on to the playoffs, because we're a playoff team, is I was having a look at pace. Everyone talks about how when the playoffs come, the game gets slower, and the Knicks have actually got the slowest pace in the league. I think so, according to the stats, their pace is 96.39, and Miami Heat are second at 97, followed by Denver at 98. Then the Mavericks at 98 as well. And I find that quite interesting because all those teams did well last year in the playoffs. I felt Miami did really well. I mean, obviously they made it to the finals. Denver did really, really well. They got beaten by the Lakers, who obviously were a great defensive team. And Dallas, I mean, there were a couple calls if they could have gone either way against the Clippers where they could have gone through. They could have gone through to the next round, and Porzingis was injured as well. Alex doesn't seem convinced. those games were a lot closer, I felt, than what went down. The Mavs could have easily made it through to the round. But anyway, I digress. And the two key things I'm looking forward to going into playoffs is pace and defensive efficiency, because it feels like unless you've just got ridiculous 3-point shooters who are your best players in your team, it's most dependent thing I believe is defense. And I'm looking forward to where the Knicks are drafted when it comes to the playoff draft next week. Oh, in a couple of weeks, sorry.
We currently sit at a Knicks-Hawks first round matchup. And I'm sorry, Wildy, I need to see Knicks with a home court advantage in that series. Give me that MSG atmosphere. If they are, obviously, with fans back in the stadiums. Ed, some points I've picked up with the Knicks. Like I said, the Knicks are back. So let's pick out some key stats from their players. You've got RJ. He's shooting 45% from free over the past 3 months. Massive improvement. He's taking and making buckets in the clutch. You've got Quickly off the bench. He's helping outscore their opponents by 84 points when he's on the floor with RJ and Randall. You've got Nerlens Noel holding opponents to 50% shooting at the rim, which is nuts. He's averaging 2.3 blocks, 1.1 steals, and 3 deflections a game. Out of those 3 players, RJ, Quickly, and Noel, who's going to be the biggest factor come the playoffs?
So we all know Julius is Knicks' best player, and what he does on not just on the scoring component, but also what he does by distributing the ball as well. And with an amazing front court player, you need a backcourt player to get the buckets that only that's a signature of a backcourt player, whether it's a tough bucket or an ISO play, which is why I'm saying it has to be RJ. He is also one of their most reliable 3-point shooters, and the Knicks do like 3-point shooting. It's not their forte. However, when they do get great scoring output from RJ from the 3-point line, it opens up the court for everyone else and can provide them a different element. He's got games when he's gone 5 of 8. I think one game he went like 11 of, what did he do? Oh, 6 of 11, sorry. He's had a 6 for 6 game from free as well. So that can really, really help the Knicks and really help ease some of the offensive workload for Julius Randle.
Say goodbye to the Knicks, Ed. Closing thoughts.
I might not be saying goodbye. I might just be saying see you later.
I like it. Good on you, New York. I'm happy the Knicks are back, man. Very happy. All right, let's head to one of my most liked team in the league, to my most hated. Boo! Boo! The Brooklyn Nets, wads of money just flashing it around, aren't they? Look at me, Harden, Kyrie, KD can come off the bench. To be fair, I was nuts coming off the bench and just dropping 33 like that. Anyway, I'm not hate. The Nets played really well this week and they've overtaken us for the number. They've overtaken us for the damn number 1 spot. 4-1 this week. They're 42-20 overall. George, talk about your other super team, man.
Not 1, not 2. Not...
Are you talking about your position leaderboard? You're not first, you're not second, you're going to be third. Is that what
you're... giving you an I'll calm down.
How dumb does LeBron look after that prediction, by the way?
Yeah, every
so
time.
Stupid.
And especially bringing it back to the Game of Zones. Actually, most people should be happy with one.
Yeah. Some people never get one. Yeah, that's so stupid.
Where were we? Okay. Finally got that top spot. We've been fighting for it. So I am so happy with that. I was waiting to get back in. And the thing is, you know what they say, like I've been saying all throughout this season for the Nets, the issue has been the defense, like from the very beginning, and that was noticeable from the start. And they've gone away, they've improved it a little bit, and then they just said, okay, let's just stick to what we know we can do and got right and just outscore that team. And that's what they've been doing. And you can't knock it. It's been working. They've got to that number 1 position. And yeah, they're going forward. Of course, again, this season, story, injuries. Like there's been a lot of injuries. And I think in comparison to a lot of my other teams, they've handled this well. Even though they've got like a team of superstar sacks, so it kind of helps it out a little bit. The most recent injury with that, of course, is the Harden injury. So in the most recent games, they've gone 3 straight. Boston Celtics, Phoenix, and Toronto as well. As regards to the Harden injury, as I mentioned before, recently it's been a bit of a setback with the injury. So he's taken an MRI, and now we're not sure when or if he will return this season. It's pretty much up in the air. It could be done for him. So we'll see how that looks going forward. Again, for me, I would say it is slightly worrying, but again, we still got the KD and Kyrie Irving there. So we'll see. It just makes it a tougher battle. So, yeah.
Yeah, scary proposition, man. How the hell is KD having 33, 6 and 4 in 28 minutes off the bench? That is unbelievable. That's ridiculous. Speaking of the man KD, him and Mike Conley actually won an Oscar for being executive producers on a best live action short film called Two Distant Strangers. It's actually on Netflix if you guys want to check it out. And Joey Badass plays the lead in it, apparently, which is quite cool.
Oh.
We're going to have a Oscar question later, which is great. And shout out to Matt, who led me to think of this. Which award would you guys give to Kevin Durant if he was an Oscar? I've got a couple of categories which I think he'd fit quite well in.
Best supporting actor? No, I'm joking. That's not.
So who, Russ?
The Warriors.
No, I'm joking.
I've got best original score and best production design. Best original score because the man, you just can't guard him, can you? You just got to hope he misses. Man's 7 foot, put the ball on the floor.
I love that. That's got to be it. That's wicked.
Yeah, that's really good.
Thanks, guys. Okay, well, we've decided that. George, is there anything you want to speak about the Nets before we go? You can end with your closing thoughts on the Nets.
Closing thoughts on the Nets. I would say, again, they've done well considering I think they've stuck to their guns. Like every time you read anything about the Nets or updates about the Nets, it's always looking at their defense every time. But they stuck to their guns. They have made improvements in that area, which is great. But at the end of the day, they're a super strong team. Really enjoyable to watch and really fun to watch, especially with all the questions up in the air. How is it going to work? The usual standard stuff. So yeah, it's been fun watching the Nets and seeing them progress and finally get that top spot. We'll see how it goes going forward. But unfortunately, last words. We'll see in the playoffs if I can stick with them. So
well, the number one question, isn't it?
Yeah,
they might be number one in the East, but will they be number one in the playoff draft? Tune in to find out in a couple of weeks. It's going to be juicy. Okay, right. Let's head to a team who, they're pretty happy that the season's going to be over, aren't they? The Tampa Bay Raptors. Shocking from the champs from 2 years ago. Wow. 2-2 this week. They actually only played 2 games when we were supposed to record on a Monday, but they played two more recently. So 2-2 this week, and they're 26 and 36 overall. They're just outside of the play-in spot. But I mean, if I'm a Raptors fan, I'm not wanting to be a part of that. Anyway, like Lampere.
Yeah, Raptors. They have improved of late. So since we last spoke, they are 6-6. The previous 3 weeks to when I last spoke about them, they were 2-9. So, there's a bit more positivity in terms of this time speaking about the Raptors than the previous time. Like you said, they're 25 and 36. So they're half a game behind the Bulls. However, due to the Wizards' amazing run of late, it's still looking unlikely that they're going to make that playing spot, as you just touched on. So what's been the story with the Raptors of late? They had a bit of an iffy run, and then Gary Trent Jr., this was a couple of weeks ago, had this amazing 3-point buzzer beater against the Wizards in which he rebounded the ball with about 4 seconds left, drove it up the court and just pulled up and hit that. And that was a great win for them. And He's also scored 44 points on 17 of 19 shooting versus Cleveland. We've mentioned that previously. So he's been a real positive for the Raptors of late. He's translated the same stats he had from Portland into his form at the Raptors. I believe he's scoring 1 point per game more. And given his age, I think that's something that the Raptors can be really looking forward to in the future. And then they've had some other like weird performances. They got beat by the Lakers, and they actually only had 9 players in that game. And it was worse after OG Anunoby was ejected after 10 minutes after he performed a WWE-style finishing move on Call of Duty's very own Dennis Schroeder. I'm not sure if you've seen Dennis Schroeder's in the new Call of Duty advert.
Yeah, I saw that. That was so random.
And then they went on a 4-game winning streak in which they beat the Spurs, Magic, Thunder, and then the Nets. You could argue, though, that they're expected to beat all of those teams, especially the Nets, considering they missed both Harden and KD in that game. And then most recently, they lost against the Knicks, beat the Cavs, and then lost against the Nets last night, where I think KD only scored 17 and Kyrie scored 9, and they still lost to them. Like, that is the most Raptors result possible.
Yeah, it's a mix of mixed bag for the Raptors this season. I think more bad than it has been good, considering they are in the East. The point I want to talk about, Matt, is that I'm bringing up Ken Burch again, because we don't really have anybody else to talk about. Somebody didn't like that over there. So yeah, Ken Burch. The Raptors are outscoring opponents by 11.6 points per 100 possessions when he's on the floor, which is nuts. I know it's a small window, but then you've also got Freddie Gillespie, who's a G League player, who's on his second 10-day contract. He's bringing good activity and energy to the team and the games that he's played. So moving forward, which player would you want the Raptors to keep on next year? Not necessarily as like a really good piece, but just maybe like a foundation piece, a good locker room person.
I'll probably side with Ken Burch just because he's a centre, and they have Boucher at centre, but I think they'd lack a little bit more depth there, really. And it that would allow Siakam to more move forward, and it takes the pressure off him a little bit. That's Raptors. I've just had enough of them. I'm done with them. I'm done. I can't wait to stop talking about them.
Yeah, it's a breakup which you knew you were going to break up with them, and it's just dragged on a bit too long. I feel you. Okay, so any closing points with the Raptors? We can be done with it. I can just move on.
I'd say my closing point is I obviously made the mistake back in the draft when I selected the Raptors over the Nets, and I've been looking at Jordan all year and thinking, what on earth? The mistake I made was massive. The gift to Jordan was huge. That could not have gone any worse.
All right, it's time to say goodbye to another one of our teams for the regular season. At most, and maybe they make the playoffs. I'm hoping they don't.
Oh, stop it.
He's already started. I've already got him. I've fished him in. I've got him on the hook. It was so easy. Bray's so triggered by every one of his teams. I could just breathe, and he's like, what? Right, the Boston Celtics, they're 1-4 this week. They are 32-30 overall. They're somehow over 500, but it feels like they've had a Raptors season. They've been shocking, personally. Bray.
How dare you? You're literally just gaslighting me right now. This is insane. This is actually insane.
Is it,
the
Bray?
Celtics are good.
I don't think it is.
The Celtics are good.
Evan Fournier is your best player.
Yeah. The Celtics are good.
All right, screw you all. You're just trying to get
yeah, they're struggling.
They're not struggling.
In
The
the
Celtics
East.
are good. The Celtics are good. They're 32-30. They're 6-4 in their last 10. Yes, they've had a pretty bad stretch, but that's mostly due to injury. In the last 3 weeks, they've had some massive wins against the Knicks, who are a rival in the conference, the Nuggets, the Blazers, the Lakers, and the Warriors, and the Suns. Incidentally, they destroyed the Suns. They just sat them down
13 points
today. No, yeah, but it was a clinic. They didn't have Jason Tatum.
No. They've won one
didn't have
game this
Jason Tatum.
week. They've won one game this week, and you're about it's a clinic.
No,
At
the
one point-
Suns game. The Suns game.
I know, but it was at one point. Yeah, but that was the 14-2 run in the third quarter. That wasn't a clinic.
The Suns should, if they are as good as we say they are, should be walking out of that. If that with a Celtics team that hasn't got Jason Tatum, that should be an easy win. If
They're
you're
walking
saying,
into the playoffs, baby.
Celtics are where we're saying they are, and the Suns where we're saying they are. Obviously, I think the Celtics are better. Like
they're on a back-to-back, bro.
No, see, he's trying to get
They're
me
on
to
the
buy
back.
that. No, that's
Yeah,
not.
Yeah,
we've bit that. Yeah, it's fine.
In any case, the good news for the Celtics, the Evan Fournier trade was meant to unlock their offense. It actually unlocked their defense because they traded Daniel Tice. The Time Lord came in, and their defense has been excellent after that. Unfortunately, he's missed the last 7 games, which does in part explain the poor run of form recently, because he's a big energy guy off the bench and is a big reason they tend not to get out rebounded. Unfortunately, all they're doing right now is plugging Tristan Thompson back in at that spot, who doesn't fit the role as well, to be perfectly honest. But yeah, so big props to them for that. They do still struggle to score at points. So, for example, in their recent loss to the Hornets, the only players that scored in double figures were Tatum, Brown, Smart, and Walker. So, you know, beyond those 4 plus Robert Williams and sometimes Peyton Pritchard, there ain't much on that team.
Let's start with a somber note, and we're going to build up from there. So I just want to say my condolences to Terrence Clark and his family. He was killed in the car crash earlier this week. He's born in Boston. He was born in Boston. He's really good friends with Kemba, Tatum, and Brown, and most of the Celtics. He was playing at Kentucky. He was actually preparing for this year's draft. So that's obviously a really somber note. And yeah, obviously thoughts and prayers are out to his family. It's a really tough one to do. I'm going to go to my stat line of the week. And when I mean stat line of the week, I mean a whole week of stats. And I'm shouting out Romeo Langford. And no, it's not positive. It's negative, okay? Let me talk to you about Romeo Langford, okay? 2, 5, and 3 in 21 minutes against the Bulls. Against the Suns, he had 2 points in 32 minutes, okay? Against the Nets, he had 0 points in 19 minutes. And in the Hornets game, he had 2 points in 16 minutes. He's dropping Alex Brahill Cougar numbers, only making 1 shot a game.
No.
But you're better than Romeo Langford.
Hang on now. But anyway, he's not
relative terms, you are.
He's not producing. Just trying to make light. You were talking about Evan Fournier unlocking the defense. How about he unlocks some of his own play? Because this man has failed to make a shot in 3 of the 6 games he's played, and he's averaging 8, 2, and 2. So let's not talk about Evan Fournier on the offensive end. Bray, how worried are you about this heading into the postseason?
Well, this Romeo Langford stat line is not actually about Romeo Langford, because the reason he's playing minutes is because they haven't got guys playing. Tatum's not playing, Brown's not playing, Kemba's not playing, Smart's not playing, Robert Williams isn't playing. And when those guys are playing in the playoffs, you won't see Romeo Langford in the rotation. He won't be in the playoff rotation, so I'm not worried about it. It has been the story of the season for them. They can't keep healthy. And honestly, like, I looked back at the way these teams were drafted, and at the start of the season, like, you could look at it. You could even look at picking the Raptors before the Nets and say, yeah, because we had no idea about KD. We had no idea if he was coming back. We had no idea they were just going to trade nothing for James Harden. Like, at the start of the season, you didn't say the Sixers are definitely going to make a leap to be one of the top 2 teams in the conference. Who the hell was predicting that? I mean, at the start...
Me?
Well, yeah, I mean, Wildy, that's actually a good point. Wildy was the only one who saw it. Alex didn't see it. But yeah, he can't even put it on it. So it's not crazy. Like, they've had a tough season, they've had injuries, they haven't been able to make the jump where other teams in the division have, and I don't think they should be penalised for that.
Okay, well, yeah, and also, Bray, just to go back to the clinic, you know, they lost to the OKC Thunder as well.
Yeah,
that's shocking. Okay.
Like, on some nights they look really, really good, and they just can't keep it consistent. Like, and a big part of it's injuries as well. Like, when they won against the Suns, Kemba dropped 32 points. Like, what? it unlocks that team so much. And then he like leaves the Hornets game in the middle of it because his hip just randomly started hurting. Nothing wrong with it. No, no diagnosis, no time off, no MRIs, whatever. He was like, oh, it just started hurting, felt really weird. Like, and that's the story of their season. Like, Kemba can't stay on the court. They're riding the other guys. People are getting injured. It's just a bit tough. But I've thoroughly enjoyed having the Celtics. It has been a bit frustrating at times, but they're such a promising team. Like, Jason Tatum is 22.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah,
remember, like, Jaylen Brown is 24, Marcus Smart is 26, and Robert Williams, another core guy who I would have, is 23. That is insane.
Yeah.
Okay, nice closing thoughts. Should we head to the leaderboard?
Give me 2 minutes.
I fooled you.
He's trying to troll here.
Okay, because I say they don't have a couple more teams to talk about.
You trolled your own team.
Yeah,
that's because they've been bad.
I was going to put a bag over my head.
No, I have a case to make.
All right. Let's intro. Right, the last team we are going to speak about from the Atlantic. I'm embarrassed, man. I'm embarrassed because if it wasn't for this win, we would have been 0-4 this week.
Yeah,
inexcusable. Yeah, injuries, blah blah blah. I'm not blaming on that. You've choked. You've given the leads to the Nets. Well done. You know, we worked so hard, and they're just going to stroll in. They don't even have their best players. I'm not happy, man. It's tough being a Philly fan.
I understand.
It's tough being a Philly fan.
That's right.
I know it's been a good season.
Let me know when you're done.
It's all right. It's all right. I'm done. Wardy, it's been a good season. It's been a really good season. Let's end it on positive. Let's head to Philly.
Yeah, man. Okay, so yeah, it has been a good season. All right. That second Milwaukee game, that is embarrassing. You guys mailed that game in. I don't know what the hell was going on. Tobias Harris, who's been on fire all season, got 9 points. And the next highest scorer, like the highest scorer, had 15, and it was Tyrese Maxey off the bench. Your highest scoring starter had 13. I mean, it was just ridiculous. You didn't have Embiid in that game. So I guess it was just like, well, we're not going to be beating Giannis and the Bucks. That's really how it felt watching it, seeing it.
We got destroyed.
I was like, they don't care about this game. It's like, yeah, why are they going to kill themselves against the Greek Freak? Potentially hurt themselves going up against a moving tank that goes as fast as a fighter jet, and risk hurting themselves so close to the playoffs. And that's kind of my positive take towards this horrific week, which, as you say, we're lucky that one of your games was against OKC, to be honest, because everyone beats OKC.
It's a clinic. There's a clinic, Wildy. I put on a clinic.
All right. So, Doc is a very smart man. Okay. He would have looked at those 2 Bucks games, and in the first one, when you guys lost and you did have Embiid, it was like, and then he went out with a shoulder tightness. He would have said, right, we're going to write this game off. It doesn't matter, because like every other team, they have 11 games left. Let me just tell you what you got coming up. It don't matter. You got 11 games, 8 of them, 2 of them against the Magic, 1 of them against the Pels, 1 of them is against the Pistons. You got 2 against the Hawks, which are at least going to split. I can admit. Maybe win both. The point is, you're at least winning 8 out of the next 11. Easy. You might even win more than that. So Doc can say, look, we're going to write off this back-to-back against the Bucks, and we're just going to steamroll through the rest of it. And whilst Brooklyn still load manage, we can still maybe get that 1 seed. It's not out of reach. I definitely still think you guys are going to get the 1 seed by the end of the season. That's how I'm feeling about it. That's kind of what I have to say, because there's not really a lot of positives to take out of this week. But who cares? Because the season's been amazing. And I'm really looking forward to see this playoff run. I feel like it's been like 5 years in the making. We've had like flirtations of Philly success in the postseason, and it's always just been abrupted by, let's face it, just a bad system and coaching. Now you've got a good coach. Let's see what happens. Something's going to happen. That's where I'm at. The other, just another little point I wanted to say, you guys are third in fast break points. I love it. I love, oh my God, his name has completely just left my head, rather.
Matisse?
Thank you.
Bible.
Bible is, I love the fact that you have Ben Simmons, who I think is going to be, what I think he should be Defensive Player of the Year, and yet you have him alongside him, which is such a nice piece because he's young as well. Ben Simmons is unstoppable in transition, and now he's got himself a fast break running mate that's going to allow them to become even more effective, because Embiid ain't keeping up with Ben once he gets the jet song going down the other end. So it's just nice to see that dynamic evolve, and that's only going to get better as well. In the playoffs, man, you guys are going to be lockdown defenders in the half court, and you're going to be able to run past teams. And if you get in the half court, you're putting it into JoJo in the post, and you've seen what's been happening. Bennett.
Right, I love it. So I was reading an article from The Ringer, Joel Embiid versus post doubles. Okay, so stay with me here, right? So Philly score 1.16 points per possession when he's not doubled, and 0.97 when he is. So this is better than last season. However, this season he's faced the most double teams out of anyone, and 0.97 is only slightly above average. In comparison, Jokic and Giannis score on average 1.4 points per possession, which is elite. Okay, so is this something to be worried about?
Not really. I think that they've done enough changes I just think all the right guys have made the right leaps at the right point at this point in the season. Tobias Harris has obviously played so much better. It's been, things have evolved and everything, but there's been certain points in the season where you guys have had two of the top most efficient three-point shooters in the league at times. I just think that his passing has become so much better out of the double teams and the post. So the fact that the numbers aren't quite there it's not so important. And honestly, look, at the end of the game, if you ask me who I want to have the ball in the post at the end of the game, with the game on the line, either Giannis or Embiid, I'm going Embiid 1,000,000 times out of 1,000,000, because Giannis hasn't been the greatest in the clutch, and Giannis in the post kind of looks a little bit awkward, whereas Joel can turn and face. He can obviously power through two guys. I've seen it happen. They try and triple team him sometimes, and he still dunks it off of one dribble. It's stupid. So even if over this vast span of stats and games, the numbers aren't there as much as some of the other guys, it doesn't matter, because if you're just looking at one possession where he's like, I'm getting to the effing rim, I think he's going to get it.
The Sixers actually have the easiest schedule remaining out of all 30 NBA teams. So my advice to you, Doc, time to run the table. Wildy?
Yeah.
Any closing thoughts from you on Philly?
I was so ready for this team to be good. Just being a vicarious Philly fan through you, to be honest, just over like this team 5 years in the making and everything. So look, I'm so glad I got to pick them. I can't believe I got them second. They were my second pick after Dallas. Because of the way divisions went, I thought I had to play it that way. And hey, well, yeah, you've seen the records, man. If you redid it with complete hindsight, I'd have gone Philly, Suns, then Dallas, But man, it's been awesome. I love them, and but I'm not saying goodbye.
Because, you are, and I'll tell you why. Because the right thing to do is, because I've been watching you all season have my team, is to pass the baton over to me, s'il vous plaît. Okay.
No.
So Philly, I will see you.
I will
see you at the draft. I'll see you at the draft.
What pick are you going to have?
I'm going to have the first pick because I'm the sixth man. I can do whatever I want.
He's going to have the sixth pick.
Second, you'll take Philly. Golly.
Depends on matchups, boys. Anyway, this all might just be a big ruse.
Who knows if Philly will be there for second?
Unagi.
No, Ed. I'll end this whole thing. I'll shut it down. Right, should we head to the leaderboard? Guys, Atlanta, I can't wait. Can't wait. Right, let's go from top to bottom. Some interesting development. All right, Siltbray, the race for 400 is well and truly on. God, he looks so angry, doesn't he? He looks so pissed.
Well, it's just...
So you're still in fifth place at the moment. You know, the race for the 400. You are 152 to 219 at 41%. Your best team, the clinic of the Celtics, and tied with the Miami Heat. Your worst team is the Houston Rockets, and Minnesota's actually bridged that gap. Well, they've made a bit of a gap. Right, let's move on to Lancashire Lambert, who has been doing very well recently. Matt, you're making a late push. 176 to 191. You're at 48%. That's a big jump. It's getting a little bit tight, isn't it? Denver Nuggets is your best team, and your worst team are the Cavaliers. Jay Wild, 191 to 178. The Paratlantic Express still in third place, 51%. Your best team are the Phoenix Suns. Your worst team are Detroit. Jord, wow, okay, 194 to 173. There is 1% splitting you from second and third at 52%. Very close to 53%. Your best team are the Brooklyn Nets, and your worst team are the Chicago Bulls still. And I've got to give him credit, man. House Lasky, it was looking tight for a while, but that Knicks winning streak has really not put the cat amongst the pigeons. The cats have flown away, or the pigeons have flown away. You're at 56%, 208 and 160. Your best team are the Utah Jazz. Your worst team is the Magic. So just to clarify, 41% Bray, 48% Lancashire Lambert, Paratlantic Express 51%, 52% House 03, and House Lasky is 56%. So final thoughts on this, guys. We are. It's the nitty gritty now.
Hey, Bray, man, you got 66 games. Make it up. Come on.
20 wins.
I mean, it's looking like the Timberwolves might snag a few wins against teams who are resting their entire squads. So get ready for that.
Yeah.
It's nice to see the fight from Wildy from the battles with Matt, and now he's clawing up. Enough clawing up to me. Like,
I'm kicking a man while he's down.
Yeah.
That's not fight. That's I'm sorry.
Wow, you're only 3 games behind. If Philly had a better record this week, you could have been tied with Jordan.
Thank you.
I will say this, guys. The fact that this leaderboard hasn't changed for the amount of weeks that we've been doing it might change in the last week is insane to me.
Yeah.
Absolutely insane. Okay, cool. So that wraps up Atlantic Pacific. We are done with those 2 divisions in terms of the regular season. With Atlantic, we are looking for four teams as well to make the playoffs. And that's another good return for a good division. So we thank you, Atlantic, from the 6th man and all the other GMs. It is over and out.
See ya.
Peace, y'all.
Ciao.